The Browns were depleted due to COVID. With the loss, the Browns fall to 12th in the AFC, while the Raiders move up to 10th, leading all 4 of the 7-7 teams. Clearly, still a very tight race, though, with 3 weeks left to play. Marcus, what bothered you about the Browns' into-the-game play calling there?
First of all, let me do my job. The 3-run plays were a problem for me.
What?
Is this the first time this year?
Mr. Run Game over here?
My bad. The 3-run plays were a problem for me. Okay? I listen to y'all. I follow some of y'all's suit. Okay? As much as I want teams to run the football, I thought this was a great opportunity for some nuance. When you look at how the Raiders lined up defensively, the Raiders knew Nick Mullins wasn't throwing the football by stacking the box. And I understand formation dictates that and all of that. I would have loved to see like a bootleg or get like a zone look and maybe dump the ball over to the tight end. Njoku had won a matchup with a smaller guy on him early in the game. That was my issue. And then defensively, bro, don't lose contain, bro.
When you say bro, you lose the game.
You lose the game. I threw my damn remote at the TV when I was watching it happen, man. And then, too, like in these particular situations, right? And we talk about these guys, T.J. Watt, Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, the understanding of the moment. Like, bro, you can't lose contain. You cannot allow Foster Moreau to get out of the thing. And 2, if you a defensive player of the year candidate, you got to go close it out. If you Myles Garrett, Myles Garrett is phenomenal. One of the best defensive players in the league. He helps Cleveland win as much as anybody on their team. Those are the situations you get $100 million for. That's really what it boils down to.
The reality is, obviously, things were not ideal for the Browns, right, last night. But either way, we showed you the playoff picture. They're a long shot to make the postseason at this point. As you look at their offseason plans at quarterback, Mina, what should they do?
We're already there with Cleveland, which is a bummer because coming into this year, there was a lot of hype around this team, but undeniably, the season, much like my friend Ryan's bow tie, has been a bit of a flop. And now they got to look towards the offseason, and they got some big questions.
Just don't see that coming today.
Because it's not over, Ryan. But because the quarterback is going into that 5th-year deal, I think they've got some time with him. I don't think he's going to get the big contract extension, but I also don't think it's an immediate, hey, we're moving on from Baker Mayfield because he did play hurt. You have more time to evaluate him with healthy. And I think this offseason, focus on getting him some pass catchers because the lack of that was on display. Those Donovan Peoples-Jones drops were huge in this game. To me, that should be a big focus for the team this offseason.
Yeah, unfortunately for the Browns, the season is a waste. And it does for me last night spring me forward. And I do believe that the question for the Browns, the number one thing for them to figure out this offseason is how much do they believe that the labrum tear for Baker in his shoulder impacted his negative play?
Yeah.
Because they've already picked up the 5th-year option, and they've got to figure out, do they think Baker is going to be the guy from last year moving forward, or the guy that we've seen the variance of play a little bit with Freddie Kitchens 2 years ago and him playing well, 3 years ago, and then 2 years ago bad, then last year really good, and then this year they've got to figure out how much of that injury they believe actually impacted his play. I don't all that disagree that they need to bring in some form of competition for Baker Mayfield, and I think that's fair because as much as they want to say, we want Baker to be our guy, and I would love that as well, they also got to think about the organization and the team and everybody else that's going to be impacted by that position.
I think the hard thing with Baker Mayfield, there has to be all these ifs and all of these maybes and all of, well, if you look at this year, but if you look at that year. One thing a coach told me about really good football players is he was once asked about bringing in a football player. And they said, so what games should we watch? He said, you can watch them all. And he said, because when he doesn't play well, I can tell you exactly why. With Baker Mayfield, it hasn't been about that. It hasn't been about Baker Mayfield makes us better or Baker Mayfield finds ways to play when people aren't there for him. And remember this, right? The reason we were so excited about Odell Beckham Jr. leaving and going to Los Angeles was because Baker Mayfield was supposed to be so good with all of this other talent. Now we can't say, well, now they don't have no other talent.
Don't preach to him like that. Or
they need to upgrade at the wide receiver.
Preach to him like that.
We all thought it wasn't an Odell thing.
It could be collective. To your point, too, I mean, the labrum tear, I'm not making excuses, but he's been playing with that since week 2. Right. If he would have just gotten surgery and sat out, the last memory of him really would have been the playoffs from last season. So it's interesting when you look at his decisions to continue to play.
Catch-22.
All right.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.